More like let me resume because there's already a 27, 20 something second long, 27 something minute long um clip on Twitch of us actually going through the reclaimed era, my passion project, my child. Well, here we are. 2 days from when I said I was gonna stream. 2 days? Yeah, 2 days. Um, yeah, I was supposed to stream again yesterday, but I ended up not doing that. I felt like I feel like I needed to refine my world before I could present it to you, beautiful people. So here it is, the revised, the master, the final version of this um world. Well, not final version because honestly, this is the the final draft before the final draft. Like mostly everything is corrected. It's tied together. It makes sense. Everything is cohesent. There's no inconsistencies, or at least I hope there isn't. But it's there. It's getting there, but it's not there yet. If you get what I mean. Um, so welcome, guys. Welcome to the Reclaimed Era. This is my world. It's my passion project. I've been working on this since I think May or June of last year. I'm not too sure. I've been at it for a while. I stopped working on it for a little bit of time because life, adult things. Because I'm not an adult, sadly. But yeah, this is my passion project. I fucking love everything about it. I've been just enjoying everything that I've been doing so far. So, okay, guys. I know I had the summer. I'm probably gonna scrap the old video. But I'm probably gonna just because I'm gonna start over because a lot of the things have changed. A lot of the things are different. A lot of new things have been added. A lot of old things have been removed. A lot of lore concepts have been updated. A lot of things of that sort have been changed and stuff. So I think I'm just gonna start over for you guys so you just can understand what I'm really at. Because last time we left off at factions and lore factions. I just added the slash lore because it has like their lore and like stories and shit like that. So I think we're just gonna start from the top. And yeah, guys, and welcome to the stream. Um, we're gonna get to it. Honestly, I'm kind of nervous because like this is my baby, and I just don't want it to get hated on. But here it is, my world. So we're gonna start the world overview, the actual world of the Reclaimer, the current timeline, the current not timeline, the current uh time in the world that we're in. This is gonna give you like the overview of what's happening, what's going on, and stuff like that. Okay, so the Reclaimed Era is not a world that was rebuilt cleanly. It is a world that stitched itself back together from fragments it did not fully understand. Centuries after the Great War, humanity has returned not to what it once was, but to something uneven, unstable, and incomplete. Cities rise again, trade routes stretch across continents, and factions claim influence over regions, but everything exists on top of something older. The old world did not vanish, it fractured, and pieces of it are still active. Defining nature of the Reclaimed Era, the world operates under a constant tension between progress and uncertainty. Technology exists but rarely in full comprehension. Infrastructure can function without explanation. Megastructures still shape geography and power. Knowledge is fragmented across factions. Myths still fill the gaps where history failed. This is not primitive world rebuilding upwards. It is a post-advanced world rebuilding without context. People live among systems cannot fully control. Entire regions dependent on machines no one alive knows how to recreate. Some areas thrive because something still works beneath them. Others collapse because something stopped. The Pelagic Array. So the Pelagic Array isn't necessarily a mega city. It's more of a mega structure that spans the entire world. But there is city-like parts to it because of the purposes of the thing. that it has. So, the pelagic array. Beneath the ocean lies one of the most intact remnants of the old world, the pelagic array, a vast subsurface network that once connected megacities, still probably does, we don't know, energy distribution systems, oceanic research infrastructures, subsurface transport corridors. Unlike surface systems, much of the array survived because it existed below the direct reach of the Great War's destruction. Its deeper layers remain largely intact. Its surface access points did not. Meridian Spire. The most visible remnant of Array is the Meridian Spire, located in the ocean between Ashen Shores and Verdant Reach. Around it exists a persistent violent storm, constantly shifting winds, unstable currents, electrical interference, and unpredictable passage conditions. The storm is dangerous but not impossible to cross, which makes it worse because it suggests something beneath is still active and unstable. Access and survivability. Access and survivability. The pelagic array is not fully lost. Access points still exist along coastal regions, including damaged megacity connection hubs, partially collapsed descent shafts, sealed or flooded entry systems. These are difficult to reach, unstable, and often require traversal through dangerous terrain or hostile zones, but they are usable. Functional relays. Functional reality. The array still operates in fragments. Energy pulses are detected across regions. Unknown systems activate without warning. Subsurface transport corridors may still function intermediately. No faction controls it. No faction fully understands it. World implication. The pelagic array changes how the world must be understood. It means the megacities were never isolated. The old world functioned as a completed system. Parts of that system are still running, and most importantly, the world is not broken. Everywhere, some parts are still working, and no one knows what will happen if these parts are disturbed. Global identity. The reclaimed era is defined by contradiction, stability built on unstable foundations, progress built on incomplete knowledge, power built on inherited systems. Every faction believes they are shaping the future, but all of them are still reacting to the past. The underlying truth. There is one reality that defines the entire world. Humanity has built enough to matter again, but not enough to understand what it is standing on. Narrative function. This world itself is not just a setting, it is a system in partial recovery. Every region, faction, and conflict exists inside the system, and as the reclaimed era advances towards another peak, the risk is no longer survival. The risk is repeating what came before. That's kind of the core themes of the world. And this isn't actually a map. I wish I could put a map, but this is the layout of the continents and everything, that connects it and stuff like that. So we got the North Reach fully connected, no ocean, shattered core. They're fully collected landmass, the biggest continent. I guess you could say continent, but we split them, right, to like because of the lore behind it. And then we got Wasted Expanse connected via a land bridge with shattered core. There's a sea in between the Ashen Shores and the shattered core, and then ocean all around here, around Meridian Spire. Then we got Verdant Reach, that's also like an island type of continent. Well, massive, obviously. We got Shattered Isles, island chains. There's ocean obviously around it because they're islands, and then we got oceans between the north and Verdant Expand and Ashen Shore. We got the ocean, and then to the north we have the North Ocean, and then the south the Southern Ocean. I don't know why I said deep, but you guys get the point. Um, the old world. The old world is not remembered, it is reconstructed. Anyways, the old world is pretty much, I guess you could say, the golden era before obviously it went to shit, because this was a time in the world and in just in general when maybe the world was united, maybe it wasn't, but whether it was or wasn't, something happened and eventually everything went to shit and the world absolutely got obliterated by itself, or who knows. That's the mystery, right? So, what exists of it now is not complete history, but fragments, ruins, systems, and partial records interpreted by those who came after. No full archive survived the Great War. No unified narrative remains. What the reclaimed era understands about the old world is built from what still stands and what still functions. And even with so much loss, one truth remains undeniable. It was more advanced, more connected, and more powerful than anything that exists now. A civilization of systems. The old world was defined not just by advancement, but by integration. It operated as a global network of interdependent systems. Cities were not isolated populations, they were specialized components of a larger structure. Energy, communication, governance, transportation, and environmental control were all interconnected. The world did not function in parts, it functioned as a whole. Whether the system was truly unified under one authority or simply synchronized across multiple powers remains unknown. The megacity network. At the center of this system were the megacities. Each served a defined and essential role. Solus Prime, governance, economic control, and coordination. Argentos, I don't know how the fuck you say that. I don't even know it. Industrial production and large-scale energy systems. Echelon Point, military command, weapon systems, and defense infrastructure. Nova Valencia, biological research, ecological engineering, and life systems. The fifth, North Reach. This is the megacity in the north. That's sort of hinted. Planetary control, fail-safe systems, and unknown functions. These were not conventional cities. They were planetary scale infrastructure hubs, each responsible for maintaining a crucial aspect of civilization. Today, they formed a system that allowed the world to operate at a level of stability and efficiency far beyond what the reclaimed era has achieved. Technology in the old world was not separate from daily life, it was embedded into it. Artificial intelligence managed large scale systems. Fusion and renewable energy provided sustainable power. Automated infrastructure maintained cities and networks. Global communication systems connected all regions. Biological engineering altered and stabilized ecosystems. Humanity did not simply use technology, it relied on it at every level. Environmental and planetary control. The old world has begun to move beyond adapting to the environment. It was actively shaping it. Climate stabilization systems influenced weather patterns, and engineered ecosystems supported agriculture and sustainability. Resource distribution was managed across regions. Environmental damage was mitigated through technological intervention. This level of control allowed civilization to expand, stabilize, and sustain itself on a global scale. It also meant the failure would not remain localized. The Great War. The Great War marked the end of the Old World. Its origins are unknown. There is no surviving records of who initiated, what triggered it, or how it escalated to its final state. What is known is that it did not resemble a traditional conflict. It was a system-wide collapse event, cascading failure. The war did not destroy the world through singular force. It broke the systems that held it together. AI networks failed, malfunctioned, or became uncontrollable. Biological systems destabilized. Energy grids overloaded or collapsed. Military infrastructure triggered chain reactions. Environmental systems fell out of balance because everything was connected. Failure did not remain contained, it separated. The fall of megacities. Each megacity experienced collapse differently. Solus Prime shows signs of internal conflict, concentrated destruction towards its core. Argetos appears to have failed through industrial overload and systemic breakdown. Echelon Point fell rapidly, leaving behind widespread structural and environmental damage. Nova Valencia remained largely intact, though its systems and surrounding environment changed. The fifth did not visibly collapse, but became inaccessible and distorted from the rest of the world. This is why I said it's not really supposed to be known about. Though, anyways, the lack of consistent pattern suggests that no single cause defined the war. Each system failed in its own way. Collapse of knowledge. The destruction of infrastructure was followed by the loss of information. Data archives were destroyed, corrupted, or rendered inaccessible. Communication networks went offline. Languages and technical knowledge fragmented. Historical historical continuity was broken. This created a generational gap of where knowledge could no longer be passed down accurately. The survivors of the war were forced to rebuild without understanding what came had come before. Aftermath. The end of the old world did not erase humanity, it reduced it. Populations fragmented, communities formed in isolation, survival replaced stability. Over time, small groups began to rebuild, using whatever fragments they could recover. The reclaimed era began not as a continuation of the old world, but a response to its absence. Lasting impact. Even in the ruins, the old world defines everything that exists after it. The megacities shape the continents. Its systems still influence regions. Its technology remains embedded in the world. Its failure continues to affect the present. Humanity has rebuilt, but it has rebuilt on top of something it does not fully understand. The function, the narrative function. The old world is not just historical backdrop. It is an active influence on the present day. Every faction, in turn, with its remnants differently interacts with its remains differently. Every region reflects a different aspect of its collapse. Every mystery traces back to something that existed before. Core truth: the old world was not destroyed because it lacked control. It was destroyed because it depended on control, and it lost it, or so, or so, or so, because that's kind of the I guess the question mark behind it. Oh, this is gonna be a long read, guys. Okay, now we got the continents, my people. This is where it gets a little more detailed. I might skip over certain stuff just to keep the mystery alive, but honestly, I don't really care. I feel like even if you knew, I think when it's actually implemented into the game and stuff, I think it's gonna be low-key kind of peak. So we're just gonna go ahead and probably read through all of it, all 27 pages. Anyways, the Shattered Core. The Shattered Core is the closest thing the Reclaimed era has to a center, not because it is stable, but because it never fully stopped functioning. Where other regions collapsed in silence, the core remained dense, layered with infrastructure, population remnants, and partial active systems. It is the place where the old world did not simply fall apart, it collapsed inward, leaving behind a vertical maze of ruins, pathways, and unstable structures that still shape how people move, trade, and survive. Regional identity. The Shattered Core is defined by urban continuity. It is not a single city, but a massive interconnected sprawl of collapsed districts, standing high rise skeletons, buried transit systems, partially intact corridors, layered infrastructure above and below ground. Unlike other regions, the core feels inhabited even in its ruins. It is active, it is contested, and it is constantly shifting. Terrain and structure. The land itself is almost secondary to the structures built on top of upon it. Vertical ruins dominate the skylines. Tower lower levels are buried beneath debris and older construction. Upper pathways connect broken towers and platforms. Entire sections exist in overlapping layers of old and rebuilt structures. Movement is rarely direct. Paths are created, lost, and rediscovered constantly. Environmental conditions: unstable architecture and sudden structural collapse, deep shadow zones where light rarely reaches, intermediate power surges where surviving infrastructure inter in- interference from partially active systems, hazarded traversal routes requiring experience and adaptation. The core is survivable, but only if you understand how to move through it. Movement and flow. The Shattered Core is one of water break, guys. The Shattered Core is the most connected region in the world. Trade routes pass through it. Factions operate within it. Within its outer districts, travelers move through its safer corridors. Despite its instability, it remains essential because everything leads through it. Solis Prime, the megacity. At the heart of the Shattered Core lies Solis Prime, once the administrative and economic center of the old world. It governed systems that reached across the entire planet. It was a place of coordination, control, influence, and now and influence. Now it stands as one of the most structurally imposing ruins in existence. Structural identity. Solus Prime is defined by inward destruction. Outer districts remain partially intact. Mid zones show heavy conflict and structural damage. The inner core is marked by massive craters and collapse zones. This pattern suggests that the most intense phase of the Great War did not approach from the outside. It converged inwards. Zonal structure, outer ring, semi-stable structures, accessible pathways, remnants of lower and middle class districts, commonly used for traversal and limited settlements. Mid-ring, heavier damage and instability, broken infrastructure, high-risk traversal zones, intermediate systems activity. Inner core, massive crater zones, collapsed megastructural layers, extreme instability, signs of concentrated conflict, and large-scale destruction. Structural hazards, large-scale collapse zones, unstable foundations beneath surface layers, vertical drops into buried infrastructure, unpredictable energy surges, structural shifts triggered by movement of time. Even experienced travelers avoid prolonged exposure to deeper zones. System remnants. Solus Prime still shows signs of partial system activity, dormant or flickering, control interference, inactive or partially responsive networks, unexplained energy presence in deeper zones. These systems are not understood and rarely trusted. Regional role. The Shadow Core functions as the primary movement hub of the world, the most densely interconnected region, of a crossroad for trade, travel, and influence. Even without direct control, its importance cannot be ignored. Connection to the North Reach. The core is physically connected to the North Reach, but that connection is not reliable. The North distortion. Attempts to travel north encounter increasing difficulty. Navigation becomes inconsistent, landmarks lose reliability, perception shifts, distance becomes distorted. What appears to be natural conditions is not entirely natural. It is widely believed that this is the result of the malfunctioning or active systems originating from the north, likely tied to the fifth. Passage reality. Routes exist in theory, few are successful in practice, most attempts fail or turn back. The connection is real, access is not. Core truth of the region. The shattered core represents what happens when the center of systems collapse but does not disappear. It is still connected, still active, still important, but no longer controlled. The shattered core is the living intersection of the world. It brings factions into contact. It enables movement across regions. It reflects the old world collapse most visibly. It is where the past and present overlap most directly. Underlying reality. The Shattered Core was once the center of everything. Now it is the place where everything passes through without ever being fully held. So that's the shattered core, my peepers. We're now moving on to the Wasted Expanse. This is the western region. The Wasted Expanse is western. The western region. The Wasted Expanse is a region shaped not by absence but by overuse. It was once one of the most engineered environments in the old world, designed for production, energy generation, and a large scale industrial output. Every part of it was built with purpose. Every system fed into something larger. Now that purpose is gone. What remains is a landscape that still carries the structures of function but no longer understands it. Regional identity. The Wasted Expanse feels like a machine that never fully shut down. It is not lifeless, it is not abandoned, it is exhausted. Across the region, remnants of infrastructure still stand: skeletal factories, complex, long dead transport lines, collapsed energy towers, buried production systems, energy systems that this place once operated at a massive continuous scale. Now it exists in fragments. Sometimes quiet, sometimes active, sometimes dangerous. Terrain and structures. The land itself reflects industrial past. Wide flattened plains shaped for construction and expansion, hardened ground where machinery once dominated, scattered structural remains embedded into the terrain, exposed infrastructure partially buried by time. This is not natural geography. It is manufactured land left to degrade. Environ- the conditions: dense dust storms carrying fine particulate matter, Extreme temperature fluctuations between day and night, unstable ground in areas with buried systems, pockets of residual heat and energy discharge, low natural vegetation outside isolated zones. The environment is survivable but harsh. It was never meant to sustain life on its own. Residual systems. Unlike many other regions, the wasted expanse still shows signs of intermediate systems activity. Machinery activity without warning, energy surges through buried grids, dormant systems responds to known triggers, automated processes partially restarting. These are not controlled, they are not predictable, and they are not fully understood. Uh, the movement across the expanse is deceptively simple. The terrain appears open, but dangers lie beneath. Long distance travel is possible across flat ground. Buried infrastructure can collapse under weight. Storm reduces visibility and alter routes. Energy zones can disrupt equipment and navigation paths exist, but they are rarely permanent. Argetos. At the center of the wasted expanse lies Argetos, once the industrial heart of the old world. Argetos powered production, energy distribution, and large-scale manufacturing across the global system. It was not just a city, it was a continuous industrial engine. Argados does not appear destroyed in a single event. Instead, it shows signs of cascading failure, systems breaking down over time, infrastructure collapsing in stages, energy overload spreading through connected networks. Its fall was not immediate; it was progressive. Zonal structure: outer industrial fields, wide production zones, large scale and structural remains partially intact. Transport lies lower structural density. Mid zone complex: dense factory clusters, collapsed machinery, unstable infrastructure, frequent system interference. Core sector: massive reactor and energy systems, contracted structural collapse, high residual heat zones, strongest sign of lingering activity. Structural hazards: unstable industrial framework, buried machinery capable of sudden activation, energy discharges from failed systems, structural collapse from internal weakness, areas of extreme heat or pressure. Argetos is not actively hostile, but it never is safe. Argetos is one of the few megacities that still behaves like a system. Energy pulses travel through its structure. Inactive machinery sometimes reactivates. Internal systems respond to unknown conditions. It does not function as it once did, but it is not inherent. Regional role: the wasted expanse represents the industrial backbone of the old world. The consequences of overproduction and system dependency, a region where infrastructure outlasted its purpose. It is one of the most resource rich areas in the world and one of the most dangerous to interact with. The wasted expanse was never meant to sustain itself, it was meant to support everything else. Now, with the system it once fed gone, it continues in fragments, still producing, still reacting, still unstable. The wasted expanse represents the dangers of systems that outlive their control. It shows what happens when production continues without direction, energy exists without regulation, infrastructure persists without purpose. The wasted expanse did not collapse because it failed, it collapsed because it was pushed beyond what it was built to endure. And that's the wasted expanse and its megacity Argetos. Now we move on to the Ashen Shores. This is the eastern continent island from the Shattered Core. Where's the map? I think I can get the map here. Right here, Ashen Shores, right? The Ashen Shores are a fractured eastern coastline shaped by warfare, collapse, contamination, and lingering consequences of military ambition. The region feels as though it broke faster than the rest of the world. It was not worn down over centuries so much as violently interrupted and left to rot under unstable conditions. Ash fills the air in some zones. Coastal cliffs collapse into gray waters. Old defense lines remain as broken scars. The land is unstable, fragmented, and deeply tied to what happened at Echelon Point. We'll get there. Terrain and condition: broken coastlines, collapsed cliffs, ash saturated basins, scarred inland fields, unstable lowland and tidal merge zones, contamination pockets, and warped terrain. Major regional zones: Black Rampart, Broken Defense Wall, and Symbolic Barrier Line. Scar Fields, Repeated Impact and Conflict Zone. Twisted Zones, Warped Terrain, Altered Survivors, tor- and Altered Survival Territory. Low Visibility Ash Basin, low visibility, unstable ground, partial accumulation, great tide flats where land and sea blur into unstable coastal lowland, holy shit, holy vein, hollow veins, underground routes, collapsed passages, and hidden descent lines. And then there's the Ash Cradle. At the center of Ashen Shores lies the Ash Cradle, a massive unstable zone formed in the aftermath of Echelon's Point's fall. It is one of the most dangerous and visibly distinct locations in the region, where the consequences of military collapse, failed containment, and residual weapon systems seem to have gathered and settled rather than dispersed. The ash cradle is marked by melted structures fused together into unnatural shapes, warped terrain that no longer follows the logic of surrounding land, persistent radiation pockets that and unstable contamination zones, abrupt transition between intact, broken, and half collapsed structures. The cradle is not treated as the cause of Echelon's Point fall, but as one of the clear surviving consequences of whatever happened in the city triggered a chain of aftermath, weapon failures, systems breaches, containment losses, and long-term environmental corruption. The ash cradle is where those consequences remain and most concentrated. It is not fully understood and it is not fully mapped, and even the clans do not appear to control all of it, which we'll get to that. Echelon Point, this is the mega city here. Echelon Point was the military command city of the old world. It housed weapon systems, strategic control infrastructure, and vast stores of destructive capability. It is said to have fallen in a single night. This remains myth, not confirmed history, because no one really knows. What is certain is that the city is now a place of abrupt devastation, internal collapse, weapon system aftermath, and hidden subterranean vaults that may still contain dangerous remnants of the old world. Importantly, Echelon Point did not fall because of simple nuclear strike. Its scale exceeds the explanation. Instead, its fall remains unknown, while the aftermath of stored military systems, radiological material, and broken biological technologies created the conditions that later contribute to mutation across the region. The vaults beneath the city remain sealed, collapsed, or only partially breached. They are not legendary represented rep that word of the world ending power, but they may contain tactical systems, weapon remnants, archives, or failed experiments, still valuable and dangerous. At the heart of the aftermath lies the ash cradle, where the city collapsed, left behind melted architecture, warped land, and radiation that never fully faded. Whew, that's Ashen. That's Ashen. That's Ashen Shores. That's probably like my second favorite region after Verdant's Reach. So yeah, we're gonna start this one. The Verdant Reach is not a region that fell. It is a region that continued. While much of the world broke, collapsed, or degraded, the Reach followed a different path. Its systems did not fall in the same way. Its environment did not die. Instead, it expanded, adapted, and grew beyond what it once was. This is not a restored wilderness. It is something new, built on what came before. Regional identity. The Verdant Reach is defined by overgrowth and integration. It is one of the few places in the world where the old world influence did not result in decay but transformation. Structures remain but are overtaken, systems exist but are observed, environments are not controlled but enhanced. The region feels alive in a way no other place does. Not passive, not stable, but active. The reach is layered, dense, and constantly shifting. Thick jungle canopies covering large points of land, multi-terrain vegetation from ground to upper canopy levels, wetlands, river systems, and natural basins. Uneven terrain shaped by roots, growth, time, structural, partially or fully integrated into the environment. The ground itself is rarely uniform. Movement requires adaptation. Environment. The conditions High humidity and dense air, limited visibility beneath canopy layers, rapid biological growth, altering terrain over time, unstable footing due to roots, water, and organic spread. The natural barriers forming and dissolving unpredictably. The environment is survivable but never static. Past that exists one day may be gone the next. Biological activity. The verdant reach is the most biologically active region in the world. Plants grow at accelerated rates, ecosystems layers over one another, organic systems interact in complex ways. Certain areas show signs of engineered or altered biology. It is not always clear where natural growth ends and old world influence begins. Travel through the reach is difficult without experience. Pathways are inconsistent and often temporary. Dense growth obscures direction and distance. Terrain shift with environmental changes. Natural barriers can isolate areas quickly. Movement is possible but rarely efficient. Nova Valencia. At the center of Verdant Reach lies Nova Valencia. It is one of the most visually distinct megacities of the Old World. Unlike other, it was not heavily destroyed, it was observed. Structural identity. Nova Valencia is constructed from an advanced material. Jesus. Right here. Right here. Nova Valencia is constructed from an advanced material resembling glass, transparent or semi-translucent surface, smooth, reflective structure, massive architectural scale. Despite its appearance, the material is far stronger than conventional glass. It was endured centuries of environmental pressure without collapsing. Envio- Jesus, what is happening to me? The defining features of Nova Valencia is its relationship with the surrounding environment. But the vegetation grows along and through its structures. Roots and vines connect different levels of the city. Internal species have been overtaken by plant life. Entire sections function as part of the surrounding ecosystem. The city does not stand apart from the region, it is a part of it. Zonal structure. Outer growth zones. Heavy vegetation covering lower structures. Accessible pathways through integrated terrain. Blurred boundaries between city and environment. Mid canopy level. Structure partially visible through dense growth. Elevated traversal routes, interwoven architecture and plant systems. Upper spires. Tower glass Towering glass-like structures rising above the canopy more into architecture, clearly visible across the region. Hidden drops beneath vegetation layers, unstable growth, shifting structural balance, enclosed spaces overtaken by organic systems, limited visibility within internal sections, areas where structure and environment are indistinguishable. Nova Valencia still shows signs of underlying systems, environmental regulation systems that may still influence growth, structural resilience beyond expected limits, possible biological engineering framework embedded within the region. These systems are not fully understood, but their effects are visible everywhere. The verdant reach represents the continuation of life beyond collapse, the merging of systems, environment, a region where control gave way to adaptation. It is one of the most stable ecosystems in the world, but also one of the least predictable. The verdant reach did not survive by resisting change. It survived by becoming something else. The verdant reach represents the possibility that the old world systems did not only destroy, they also created conditions for a new form of life. It raises a question no other region does. Is this growth a recovery or something entirely different? The verdant reach is not what the world was, it is what the world became when was lost and life continued anyways. And that's verdant reach. It's probably one of my favorite regions, mainly because of the mega city, Nova Valencia. Like the picture in my brain, like you guys don't get the picture in my brain, and all the region stuff that's across it. Like that place is beautiful, dangerous but beautiful. The North Reach is not a place people understand, it is a place people approach and fail to reach. From a distance, it appears as a vast northern expanse of frozen lands, mountain ranges, and endless white horizons. It is visible from certain vantage points. It can be mapped in theory. It exists physically, but the closer one gets, the less reliable it becomes. The North Reach is defined by distortion, not destruction, not abandonment, distortion. Everything about the region resists certainty. Distance feels inconsistent, direction become unreliable, landmarks shift or disappear, visibility changes without clear cause. It is not simple, difficult to traverse, simply difficult to traverse. It is difficult to perceive correctly. At surface level, the northern reach appears to consist of vast frozen plains, jagged mountain ranges, deep valleys and ridgelines, ice fields stretching beyond visible limits, but these features cannot be fully trusted. What is seen is not always what is true. Extreme cold across all known areas, low visibility due to atmospheric distortion, disorientation, even with clear line of sight, inconsistent environmental behaviors, travel report that distance stretch or compresses, paths do not lead where expected, terrain seems to rearrange or repeat. This is not normal environmental difficulty, it is interference. The veil. The defining feature of the North Reach is what is commonly referred to as the veil. From afar, it appears as a constant storm system, swirling cloud formations, shifting light patterns, blurred horizon lines, but this is not weather. The veil alters how the region is experienced. Visual perception becomes unreliable. Spatial awareness breaks down. Directions cannot be trusted. Mapping becomes impossible. Mountains may appear closer or farther than they are. Paths may seem to loop or disappear entirely. The region does not behave consistently from one attempt to the next. The distortion is widely believed to be the result of a functioning or malfunctioning system, possibly includes environmental control system operating incorrectly, defense or concealment system still active, planetary scale infrastructure influencing perception. What are the source? The effect is deliberate in appearance. It does not feel random. The North Reach is physically connected to the rest of the world, but access is ineffectively restricted. Routes exist on maps, paths can be attempted, entry is theoretically possible. Most attempts fail, travelers lose direction and return, expeditions rarely progress far. Very few claim to have gone deep into the region, fewer still can describe it consistently. The fifth where somewhere within the northern reach lies the fifth megastructure. Unlike the others, it has never been clearly observed in the reclaimed area. It is not visible, not confirmed, not understood. The from the old world reconstructions gathered data, it was tied to a planetary system. It may have functioned as a failsafe or control hub. It was connected to the broader global network. It is believed to still exist, but it cannot be seen. Concealment. The veil is thought to be directly linked to the fifth. It obstructs the region. It distorts perception and prevents a reliable approach. Whether this is intentional defense system failure or something else entirely is unknown. The North represents the unknown limits of the old world systems, a region still influenced by active infrastructure, a place where reality itself becomes unreliable. It is not just dangerous, it is inaccessible by design or by failure. The North is not empty, it is hidden. The North serves as the largest unresolved mystery in the world. It suggests that not all systems collapse, it implies that something still operates at scale. It introduces the possibility of control beyond human reach. It is the one place in the world where the old world may not be fully gone. The North Reach is not dead region. It is a region the world is not meant to see clearly. The Ashen Sea slash Meridian Zone. This isn't really a continent. It's more of like the sea between Verdant Reach and Ashen Shores. So it's not really a continent. It's just there to explain a little bit of what goes on there. Anyways, between the Verdant Reach and the Ashen Shores lies the oceanic region surrounding Meridian Spire, the primary known access point into the Pelagic Array. This area is defined by violent waters and persistent localized storms. The storm does not influence the continent directly, it remains tied to Meridian site itself and damaged conditions surrounding that access point. The region is dangerous but not impassable. This matters. The world can still reach the backbone of the old systems, if it's willing to survive the approach. That's all we give you. The Shattered Isles. The Shattered Isles are what remains when structure breaks apart and never reforms. Unlike other regions, the Isles are not defined by megastructures, dense infrastructure, or system-wide purpose. They are fragments of land, of history, and of what once connected them. They feel disconnected from the rest of the world, not just physically, but historically. Uh, the Shattered Isles are defined by fragmented and isolation. Where the rest of the world still carries the weight of the old world systems, the Isles feel like something that slipped through the cracks. No central structure dominates the region, no megacities define its identity, no continuous landmass holds it together. Instead, it exists as scattered pieces. Each island is its own space, its own risk, its own unknown. The isles are made up of broken landmasses of varying sizes, rocky coastlines, steep cliffs, narrowing channels separating islands, uneven terrain shaped by erosion and collapse. Some islands are barely large enough to stand on. Others are expensive enough to explore for days. None feel complete. Heavy fog moving unpredictably across channels, strong and shifting ocean currents, frequent storms and unstable weather patterns, limited visibility between islands, is isolation due to environmental barriers. The region is not constantly hostile, but is consistently unforgiving. Travel through the isles depends entirely on water navigation. Islands are separated by deep or unstable channels. Currents can redirect or strand travelers. Visibility is often reduced by fog or weather. While routes change depending on conditions, movement is possible but never guaranteed. While the isle lacks a megacity, they are not untouched. Scattered across various islands are remnants of smaller old world settlements, collapsed coastal cities, partial intact structures, abandoned infrastructure, buried or submerged ruins. These ruins suggest that while the isles were not central of the old world systems, they were still inhabited and possibly important in ways no longer understood. Unstable cliffs, collapsing edges, submerged structures hidden beneath water, shifting ground due to erosion, isolated ruins, pockets with no clear exit. Each island must be treated as its own environment. Ocean. The isles are more affected by the surrounding ocean than any other region. Tides reshape coastlines, currents alter access points, storms isolate entire sections, submerged terrain affects navigation. The boundary between land and sea is not stable. The Shattered Isles represent what remains. When systems fail without replacement, the region outside the main structure of the old world. A place where isolation defines survival. They are not central, they are not controlled, they are separate. The Shattered Isles were never rebuilt, they were left behind. Sad. The Isles serve as a region of unpredictability and independence, a break from system driven environments, a place where smaller stories, hidden remnants, and overlooked history can exist. They were the world's feel they are where the world feels the least structured and the least understood. The Shattered Isles are not broken pieces of the world. They are parts of the world never put back together. So yeah, guys, that's literally the continents, the regions, and stuff like that, the mega cities and all that. That's in my world. And now we're gonna move into the timeline. This is the current timeline of the world and everything in it. Um, everything that's been fixed and put like that. So yeah, this is the timeline. Let's start. Um, this is the history of the reclaimed era is not preserved in a single archive, not remembered in any complete and trustworthy form. What exists now is a mixture of recovered facts, partial systems, record, inherited doctrines, and stories handed down long after truth was lost. Even so, some structures remain. Enough at least to see the shape of what came before, and the dangerous line the world is once again approaching. The unknown peak of the old world. Before the fall, humanity stood at its highest known point. The world was bound together by megacities, system networks, artificial intelligence, deep ocean infrastructure, energy grids, biological engineering on a planetary scale. The great center of civilization were not isolated powers, but interdependent nodes in a world-spanning machine. In a world-spanning machine, Solus Prime governed Argedos, produced and powered Echelon Point, armed and defended Nova Valencia, cultivated and engineered life, and somewhere beyond common knowledge, the fifth watched, regulated, or waited. The pelagic array connected much of this hidden architecture beneath the oceans, allowing energy research and transport to move beneath the world itself. Whether the old world was truly united remains unknown. Some later myth insists that humanity reached peace and balance before the fall. Others suggest that it was all interconnected. Brilliance merely hid old fractures beneath a polished surface. Whatever truth the system held until it didn't. Year Zero, the Great War. When the world broke, no surviving source can say with certainty when the Great War began in real historical terms. Only that Year Zero marks the moment later generations chose to begin counting again. The war was not ordinary by any standard reclaimed eras understands. Holy shit. Artificial artificial intelligence systems were deployed or corrupted. Biological engineering programs failed, were weaponized, and or spiraled out of control. Climate regulation systems collapsed. Military networks turned unstable. Cities that once anchored the world became targets, battlegrounds, or catastrophes. What the hell is that word? That word in themselves. The damage was not confined to battlefields. It reached into the structure of the world itself. The great cities were crippled, shattered, transformed, or sealed behind consequences no one living fully understands. The ocean retained systems that should have died. The north became distorted. Echelon Point fell in a single night, or so the stories say. Solus Prime became a cratered crown of broken governance. Arcados broke under the weight of the machinery it once commanded. Nova Valencia did not die so much as continue growing beyond human control. Civilization did not end cleanly; it unraveled. Year 1 to 100. The Dark Reclamation. That is a horrible word. The first century after the Great War was not an era of rebuilding, it was an era of survival. Whatever was left, humanity scattered. The great systems that remained were feared more often than trusted. Entire populations disappeared. Language fractured, records were lost, buried, corrupted, or sealed away behind systems no longer understood. Many survivors lived and died without knowing what the world had been, only what it had become. In this time, most people did not see ruins as inherent, they saw them as dangerous. Still, some learned to live in the edge of broken systems. Some discovered that certain lights still turned on. Some found that doors still open and machines still responded. That part of the world was not fully stopped. The earliest seeds of future began here, not in governments or nations, but in habits of survival. In few places, strange patterns began to emerge. The North started to show signs of distortion and regulated environmental behavior. Certain oceanic anomalies hinted that something below the sea was still active. It's in the ruined territories of Ashen Shores, the first condition that would later give rise to the clans were forming, though no one yet understood it. Year 80 to 120. The earliest formation of the Techno Collective. Before most factions had even taken shape, there were already small groups of survivors drawn not just to shelter or land, but to systems. These were the earliest ancestors of the Techno Collective. They gathered around power nodes, automated facilities, sealed data bunkers, maintained systems and surviving machine infrastructure. Some were engineers by inheritance or instinct, some were archivists, preserving fragments they barely understood. Some were simply the kind of people who looked at a half-dead machine and saw possibility instead of fear. They did not call themselves a faction yet, but they were already becoming one. Their relationship to the old world was become different from everyone else. They did not merely scavenge its remains, they tried to listen to them. Year 130, the first restored solar grid. One of the earliest major technological recoveries in the reclaimed era came when these uh, proton collective groups restored a regional power solar grid. It was unstable and limited in scope, but it provided something enormously important. The world could still be made to work. This changed everything, not all at once, but enough. Year 145, the Techno Collective emerges publicly. By around year 145, the various preservations and recovery circles had become organized enough to be recognized as a coherent force. The connect the the ten, the Techno Collective had entered the world as something more than a habit of survival. They were still small compared to what they would become and still divided internally, but their identity that had been established: recover, preserve, understand, rebuild only through knowledge. In later years, the Nexus Vault would become one of their defining repositories, but even in these early centuries, the collective had already distinguished itself as a faction closest to the old world in methods, if not in power. Year 170. Maintenance drone reactivation. The successful reactivation and repurposing of maintenance drones gave the Techno Collective a partial advantage few others could match. It also deepened one of their defining traits. They were not afraid of system other concerned, haunted, cursed, or dangerous. Not because they were reckless, but because they believed understanding must come before judgment. Year 220, the Echelon Syndicate forms. The Echelon Syndicate did not inherit old military authority, it invented a new form of order from the needs of a fractured world. As the Shattered Core and other settlement zones became denser and more contested, violence over routes, supplies, protect, protected spaces, and resources access intensified. In response, bands of defenders, guards, hired fighters, and settlement enforcers gradually became one organization. Protection stopped being informal, it became contractual. These protection groups discovered that people would pay not only for survival but for predictability, and from that realization, the syndicate emerged. They did not promise peace, they sold stability. Um, Year 275, the first cleansed appearance. By this time, the aftermath of Echelon Point and wider contaminations of Ashen Shore had begun, producing visible human consequences. The first individual, later recognized as the cleansed, began to appear in contaminated regions. No one understands what they were. Some seemed altered but still aware. Others were violent, erratic, or barely recognizable. As humans, exposure patterns suggest a compound effect: radiological contamination, weapon residue, and failed biological systems had combined in ways no one alive could properly explain. At this stage, they were not a faction; they were a warning. Year 340, the new dawn begins. While some sought to recover the past, others sought to control the present. Another current was forming. Um, in ecological visible territories, especially the lands that would later become strongly associated with verdant rich, independent communities emerged that rejected the old world model of mystery. They cultivated living systems rather than machine dependence. They rebuilt land instead of infrastructure. They studied biological balance and sustained coexistence rather than large scale control. These communities would eventually become New Dawn. Their philosophy was not born from weakness, but from refusal. They would not repeat what came before. Year 360. Cleanse surge. The frontier rises. Around year 360, Ashen Shores saw a major localized surge of cleansed activity that overwhelmed nearby settlements and destabilized multiple frontier zones. This event had ripple effects across several factions. Collective fields labs were destroyed, refugee pressure intensified. New Dawn's community became involved in relief and resettlement efforts. The Ashen Shores gained a darker, more permanent reputation in the imagination of the world. This period helped cement the clan as an enduring regional threat rather than an isolated anomaly. Years 360 to 410, New Dawn relief efforts. During and after the instability connected to Ashen Shores, early New Dawn communities provided organized relief and refuge to displaced populations. This mattered for more than humanitarian reasons. It helped establish their identity as more than ideologies. They could sustain people where others could only defend or scavenge. Their philosophy gained credibility because it worked. Year 250 to 400, syndicate expansion through contract orders. In the same broad era, the Echelon Syndicate expand its influence by establishing near monopoly over key routes, protected settlements, and contract enforcement zones. This was an era in which they charged from a reactive protection force into a regional power. The world had not become safer, but in places under syndicate influence, danger became organized. Year 500 to 70, the reclaimed era. The reclamation era, holy shit. Across these centuries, the world entered a new stage. The old world systems did not fully return in full, but fragments did. Power grids flickered back to life. AI interfaces were partially restored. Drones repaired. Regional identities solidified around the uh, remnants of old infrastructure and environmental consequences. The great post-war patterns became clear. Shattered core as dense urban ruins and political gravity as wasted expanse as industrial exhaustion and energy inheritance. Ashen Shores as war scarring and contamination failure. Verdant Reach as biological continuation and adaptation, Northreach as distortion, distance, and active concealment. Civilization was no longer merely surviving, it was reorganizing. Year 610, first functional AI core interface. The Techno Collective achieved one of its most dangerous and important breakthroughs, a partially functional AI core interface. It was fragmented, unstable, and tightly restricted, but it confirmed the possibility that not only machinery but decision-making systems from the old world might still be accessible. This reinforced both the collective's promise and its dangers. Year 685, Syndicate conflict with New Dawn. The New Dawn's influence grew and energy infrastructures became more strategically important. The Echelon Syndicate clashed with them over a geothermal or energy-linked territory. This conflict symbolized the beginning of recurring themes. Not all wars are fought over land, some are fought over what kind of future that land is allowed to support. Year 700, Syndicate Ascendant. water water break, people, water break. By this point, Syndicate ascendancy. By this point, the Echelon Syndicate had become one of the perimeter military and contract powers of the reclaimed era. They were no longer simply protectors; they were gatekeepers. Their influence spread through trade, coercion, enforcement, and strategic dependence. Year 735, New Dawn Regional Grid. New Dawn succeeded in establishing a cross-region renewable energy network using restored pre-war solar systems and suitable infrastructure. This was a major ideological victory. It provided that the world could be supported by something other than restored old world domination or militarized control. Year 740. First failed contact with a sapient cleansed group. At least one recorded attempt was made to open communications with a sapient cleansed group. It failed. The reasons vary depending on who tells it. Mistrust, miscommunication, violence, ideolo- ideological incompatibility. but the attempt mattered because it confirmed something important. Not all clans were mindless. Year A 780, Natural Garden Creation. New Dawn developed its first major neural garden, a form of biological integrated memory and art archive system. This reinforced their divergence from Techno Collective, where other factions stored knowledge in vaults, drives, and cores. The others began storing it in living systems. Year 800, Rising Cleanse sightings. Activity around Ashen Shore increased again. Civilian protection zones were strengthened. Travel restrictions hardened. The clans were no longer viewed as this disappearing relic of war. They were persistent. Year 850, Grim Reapers are founded. In the gap between the world's growing powers, another force was born. The Grim Reapers emerged from orphans, exiles, and those discarded by the rising orders of the reclaimed era. They were not built as an empire, an ideology, or a nation. They were built to survive unseen. In times, they became mercenaries, silent, disciplined, and undeniable. For their first long stretch of existence, they operated purely for survival, secrecy, and continuation. They did not claim land, they did not announce themselves, they became useful where no one wanted witnesses. Year 900, Omega Archive Project. The Techno Collective formally initiated the Omega Archive Project, an ambitious effort to catalog and preserve and protect all rediscovered technological knowledge. This marked a philosophical hardening with the collective. Recovery was no longer enough. They had to preserve continuity itself. Year 950, the Syndicate Black Ops Cell Divide. The Syndicate Covert Division split into specialized cells, Hound, Spire, and Void. This made them more adaptable, more dangerous, and more politically useful inside the Syndicate's own power structure. Year 1000, first bioengineered arcologies. New Dawn established the first major bioengineered arcology system, proving that large-scale life support and environmental design could be achieved without returning to old world exact model. This period also aligned with a subtle but major shift elsewhere. Year 1000 plus. The Grim Reapers changed sometime after year 100 1000. The Grim Reapers pattern of action changed. They still took contracts, they still operated as mercenaries, but their targets became increasingly selective. Corrupt leaders, dangerous systems, destabilizing operations, people whose removal restored balance rather than merely paying well. This change was never announced, not fully understood even within the organization, but it was real. Year 990 to 1050. Deepening recovery and controlled cooperation. The Techno Collective Archive achieved a prototype low yield fusion cell around year 990, though it remained unstable. By around year 1050, they began formal cooperation with neutral settlements and city states, showing a willingness to share technology under controlled circumstances. Year 1040, Syndicate instability. Unknown emerging threats, changing trade conditions, and shifting regional power led to a decline in certain syndicate contracts. This did not break them, but it forced them to tie in internally, become more focused on power consolidation. Year 1075, silent conflict between the Syndicate and the New Dawn. A low visibility conflict grew between the Echelon Syndicate and New Dawn over rural and regional influence. This was not open war, but a constant contest of pressure, expansion, proxies, and containment. It revealed the ideological fracture at the center of the reclaimed era: control versus coexistence. Year 1100 plus. Signs of cleansed coordination. Reports began emerging that some cleansed groups were showing increased coordination, consistency, and perhaps even organized movement. This did not even make them a conventional faction, but it made them harder to dismiss. Year 1120, 7-week siege. New Dawn successfully defended key ecodomes during a prolonged siege, further legitimizing them as more than philosophers or growers. They could survive pressure, they could resist. Year 1175. 1175. Organized cleansed movements reported. By this period, credible reports suggest that some cleanse groups were no longer merely reactive or territorial, but moving with something approaching intention. Their motives remained unknown. Year 1181. Year 1181. Birth of Jay. Jay is born in hidden orphanage affiliated with the Grim Reapers. He does not enter the world as a free child, but as someone who will be shaped by a structure far larger and more secretive than he can understand. Year 1190, Operation Bleeding Veil. A Grim Reaper handler named Asheville defects with sensitive information. Multiple operatives are sent to retrieve or eliminate him. They fail. Jay, still a child, is sent alone. He returns successful. Asheville is dead. The data is destroyed. Everywhere, whatever happened in the ruins remains known only in fragments. After this mission, Jay is given a name beyond his own, Nightmare. It becomes one of the defining internal turning points in Grim Reaper's history. Year 1191 to 1199, the rise of Nightmare. In the years that follow, Nightmare continues executing high-risk covert operations with exceptional success. His name becomes a whispered warning inside the Grim Reapers, a half-believed rumor outside them, an anomaly within the hierarchy itself. He does not rise through the ordinary structure, he becomes something outside it. Year 1200, present day. Now in the year 1200, the reclaimed era stands on the edge of second transformation. Technology is returning, factions are hardening, the great regions are fully shaped by the remains of the old world. The pelagic array still stirs beneath the sea, the north reach still hides what lies beyond the veil. The myths of the past feel less like stories and more like warnings. And beneath it all, the Grim Reapers remain hidden, still unclaimed, still unseen, and more influential than the world realizes. 19. Jay is 19. The world is rebuilding, and no one yet understands what will cost. What that will cost. Jesus, I can't read. Okay, so that's the timeline. Most of it. There's some inconsistencies I realized while reading it, so I'm definitely gonna have to go back and like fix it. Also, a lot of things in the continents, like it didn't show the regions and sub-regions and stuff like that I added, so gonna have to work on that too, but it's fine. um let's move on to the myths. This is probably my favorite, like one of my favorite um stuff. I love these myths, they're so cool. I did a story form for them because I mean they're myths, I can't just like list the facts and stuff, that's kind of weird. So we're gonna start with the first myth, the Sunbreakers. They say that the sky once turned against the earth, not in storms, not in fire from volcanoes, but in something far more precise. Beams of light, of pillars of fire, fell from above without warning. Entire districts vanished in seconds. Some say the weapons were stationed beyond the world itself, orbiting silently until called upon. Others claim they were carried, wielded by soldiers who could summon destruction with a gesture. No one agrees on what the Sunbreakers truly were, but in every version of the story, the result is the same. The sky burned the world and did not miss. I like that. The sky burned the world and did not miss. Even now, in certain regions, the land is fused into glass as if something impossibly hot touched it, or for only a moment and then moved on. The Last Pact. There was a movement. So, okay, let's talk about this. So, yeah, this is cool. I mean, it implies something outer worldly. I don't want to go too outer worldly, right? Like, obviously, this world was advanced to the point. Obviously, they probably were. They were teetering on the edge of like intergalactic like exploration, not travel. So they were like getting there, right? But I think it just it's nice. It's a little implication that like maybe there's something out there that we just don't know if it's still active, if it's not active, if it'll reactivate. Like it just implies a lot of things, and I think that's really cool. The Last Pact. There was a moment, so the story goes, when humanity almost got it right. The last pact was said to be an agreement between all powers of the old world: no more war, no more hunger, no more division. A world where systems worked for everyone, where machines carried the burden and people were finally free from struggle. Some say it was real, others say it was a dream told after the fall to make loss feel greater. But what makes the story endure it is not what it promised, is what it follows. Because if the pact truly existed, then someone broke it, and whatever broke it ended the world. Um, I fucking love this one too. It just implies that, like a lot of the main mystery behind the old world is, were we truly united, or what really happened? Because, I mean, how does a world so advanced, like like pretty much in the prime of its existence, just out of nowhere gets obliterated? Who knows how long the war was, right? But I mean, for the lasting impact that like resulted in after its destruction is still kind of crazy, you know. So this is a nice miss. I like that one too. The architects. No one knows who built the megacities. They simply call them architects. They are credited with everything that still stands: towers that scrape the skies, systems that still hum beneath the earth, structures so vast they can be seen from across continents. Some believe they were just humans, brilliant, driven beyond comprehension. Others believe they become something more, or that they were never entirely human to begin with. Their work remains, their knowledge does not. They built a world that could outlast them, but not one that could save them. I like this one too. It gives a little bit more of a grounded explanation to the megacities, because obviously megastructures and megacities are fucking massive. They're huge in scale to the world, right? It's like for it to be like literally technically six, because if you're counting the Pelagic Array, but for there to be five is kind of like, okay, how the fuck did we build five megacities? And so I mean, obviously it could also be, like the fact that we don't know shit. We don't know how long this world was has taken to build. So I mean, there's that piece of reality to it still, but I think it digs more into the mystery of like how these mega structures slash cities were built. Because I mean, I have them in my mind and they're beautiful, but they're fucking huge to say the least. Anyways, this one's probably one of my favorites: The Fall of Echelon Point. Of all the stories, this one is told the quietest. Echelon Point was the strongest city in the old world, a fortress of weapons, defense systems, and command. Nothing could breach it, nothing could challenge it, and yet in a single night it fell. No warning, no survivors, no clear cause. Some say something inside the city turned against it, others say a system failed, one that could never have failed. Some believe it was betrayal, others think it was something far worse. What remains is not the answer, what remains is the silence. The strongest city in the world fell faster than all the rest. So, this is the myth behind the fall of my lovely city, Echelon Point, my military hub, weapons deposit, weapons storage, stuff like that. I love this one because it gives sort of an explanation to the full destruction of the city. Because by the way, this is a fucking mega city. This is a mega structure. These are fucking huge. Like I said, to iterate again, for something to fall in one night, or at least the rumor is right. Um, it's crazy. It's like, how the fuck does something like that happen? Especially when these cities are fucking huge enough to where you can see it from other continents or other areas of the world. So it's just like, how does that even happen? So yeah, this is probably one of my favorite myths. And then we got this next one, the nameless one. Every war needs a beginning. Every class needs someone to blame. So the story speaks of a figure never named, never clearly described, who started it all, the nameless one. In some versions, he was a leader who pushed too far. In others, a scientist who created something that could not be controlled. Sometimes he is a traitor, sometimes a visionary, sometimes not a person at all, but a symbol given form. A symbol given form. There is no proof he existed, but the stories persist because it gives shape to something otherwise impossible to understand. If one man caused it, then maybe it could have been stopped. So that's the theory behind that. I like this one. It grounds the world a little bit more. It gives reason. It gives the people of the reclaimed era something to be like, okay, maybe the world wasn't as bad. Maybe it was because of someone. Maybe someone decided to do this and that, and they're the result of what happened, right? But it gives context and just just that unnerving feeling of something that is unknown. Um, Anyways, the deep currents. Sailors don't like to talk about what's beneath them. They say the oceans are not empty, that something still moves down there. Not creatures, but systems. The energy flows there. No surface grids exist. The lights can sometimes be seen far below, moving in patterns that feel deliberate. These are places where the sea behaves strangely, where storms gather without reason, where instruments fail, and then there are the structures, towers rising from the water, broken access points, remnants of something that was never meant to be seen from above. The world below didn't stop when the world above did. That this one I like because it just kind of gives like some mystique to the pelagic array. Obviously, most of the stuff that some of the stuff that I did confirm with the that the actual like mega structure is like works for it. A lot of it isn't fully not fully detailed, but like fully implicated into the lore right now because I wanted to keep it more mysterious. So there's a lot of implications here, but yeah, I love this one too. It's nice. It gives more meaning to the ocean than just being an ocean, you know, because I feel like a lot of worlds they have, you know, the land, they have all this cool stuff, but when you get to the ocean, you're like, there's nothing. So I wanted to add a little bit of something, you know. Anyways, next, the hidden north. No one agrees on what lies in the north. Maps fails there. Distance don't make sense. Travelers report horizons shifting, the land folding into itself, the sky behaving wrong. Some say it's a permanent storm, others believe it's a barrier, something placed there intentionally. A few claim it's not hidden at all, but simply not allowed to be seen. These are stories shaped beyond the distortion of something massive just out of sight. No one has confirmed them. The north is not empty, it is being concealed. So that's the myth behind the north. Yeah, this one I like this one. I feel like maybe there could be more, you know, but I think it keeping it simple and like not too overcomplicated kind of keeps the mystery alive. Like no one really knows what the fuck's going on up in the north, you know. Maybe there's people, maybe there's not, maybe there's a mega city, maybe there isn't. Who knows? But yeah, that's those are the myths of the old world, the old world, the reclaimed era, and then this is where we dive into a little bit of lore. By a little bit, I mean we pretty much gone through most of it. It just like talks about the region's placement and all this stuff. Like it goes a little bit more into detail. Anyways, so we got the factions slash lore. The Techno Collective. The Techno Collective is the faction closest to the old world in method, temperament, and inheritance. Inheritance. Long before most of the Reclaim eras had organized itself into stable regions, regional powers, scattered groups of engineers, active archivists, the system-minded survivors were already gathering around fragments of infrastructure that still worked. Where others saw dangers, they saw continuity. In the earliest generations after the Great War, these proto-collective groups formed around functioning power nodes, sealed data bunkers, automated maintenance sites, and machine systems that had not entirely died. They did not yet think of themselves as a faction, but they were already becoming one. Their relationship to the past was fundamentally different from that of everyone else. They did not merely salvage the old world, they tried to preserve its logic. Over time, these scattered preservation circles became the Techno Collective. The Techno Collective. Their philosophy: rebuild by understanding. The Techno Collective believes the old world did not fall because of technological existed, but because it was misused, overextended, or diverse from wisdom. In their view, ignorance is more dangerous than machinery, and rebuilding without understanding is simply another path to collapse. Region. Their strongest presence lies in the wasted expanse, where the industrial legacy of our ghettos and surrounding machinery sacred zones provide the richest concentration of recoverable systems in the world. They do not control our ghettos itself, nor do they treat it as a home. Like all megacities, it remains too unstable and dangerous to occupy fully. Instead, they work on the outskirts, the broken grids, the active fragments, and the surrounding industrial deadlands where old infrastructure still surface. The techno collective is layered across around access to knowledge rather than pure force. Their structure, this is like the hierarchy type thing. They have the archivist, perceives information, record data, fragments, and recovers system memory. Engineers, restores and maintains the experiments within functioning technologies. Drivers enter dangerous ruins and active zones to retrieve artifacts or system components. Custodians guard crucial technologies, protected facilities, and sensitive discoveries. Leadership is generally tried to master tied to mastery, interpretation, and successful preservation rather than charisma or conquest. Key technologies. The faction is known for partial but meaningful recovery of old world tools, infrastructure including regional reprogramming, maintenance, drones, fragmented AI interfaces recovered, restore regional grid systems, unstable fusion prototypes, system mapping and containment technologies. They are advanced by reclaimed aero standards, but not omniscient. Much of what they use is only partially understood, and some of their greatest triumphs sit only one failure away from catastrophe. Um, Historical developments: the earliest recognizable communities formed between year 80 to 120, making them one of the oldest continuous post-war intellectual traditions in the world. By 130 RE, they had restored the original solar grid. By year 170 RE, had we went through this. This is literally just like this is just like what's it called, the timeline, right? Anyways, research relationship to myth. The techno collective does not dismiss myths, but neither does it embrace them as stories. To them, myths are corrupted memories, truths distorted by time. They regard the archives, they regard the architects as almost certainly real, though misunderstood, and see the surviving megastructures as evidence of levels of systems engineering that can still in part be recovered. They interpret the deep current as almost certainly tied to the real oceanic infrastructure that treat it as far as further evidence that the old world hidden systems were more integrated than most people realize. They also take myths like the Sunbreakers seriously, not as folklore but as fragmented warning signs of weapon systems humanity should be extremely careful to rediscover. So this literally, like I said, just ties in a lot, especially with the tying it into the factions and the way they see these myths and the way they interact with the world, right? Anyways, internal tension. The collective is not ideologic, ideologic, ideologic uniform. Its greatest internal divide is whether the old world matters, but how far humanity should go to in reclaiming it. Uh, some members believe preservation and careful restoration are only ethical paths. Others believe the world cannot survive without bold technological advancement. If it means risking contact with dangerous systems, these tensions are usually controlled, but they run through everything the collective does. Narrative, the techno collective represents the seductive promise of recovered knowledge. They are the faction most capable of recovering the truth of of the world, and therefore one of the most likely to awaken what should have stayed buried. So that, my friends, is the Techno Collective. Let me know if you guys want to be part of them, because honestly, I've been thinking about like the game implications, and I'm thinking maybe I want to obviously still give the freedom of like your character and stuff. Uh, my character Jay, like that's kind of separate. But he is still the main character of this entire world because of the fact that this was originally gonna be like a book, but now it's kind of just I think I want to make it into a video game because the world itself is amazing. So yeah, I think I'm gonna make it where you can pick your faction, be born into, the Grim Reapers, be an orphan for the Grim Reapers, or join the Techno Collective, the Echelon Syndicate, the Cleanse, the New Dawn. But the thing about the Cleanse is gonna be, I don't know how I would implement that faction precisely. Maybe, I mean, you'd have to become an intellectual one. You couldn't be like a feral one because, I mean, it would just make it kind of annoying, I guess you could say. I don't know. But we'll continue. We'll talk about that later. The Echelon Syndicate was not inherited from the old world. It was born from pressure of the world that came for after it. As populations grew again in broken density of shattered core, conflicts became unavoidable. Trade had to be removed, resources had to be protected, routes had to be controlled, systems needed defenders, and caravans needed armed escorts. At first, these were only scattered fighters, settlement guards, and hired survivors doing what was necessary to keep people and goods alive. But protection became structure, and structure became business. For those early formations, the Echelon Syndicate emerged not as an army in the traditional sense, but as a contract driven power that turned in order into a commodity. They do not promise justice, peace, or safety for all. They promise stability for a price. Philosophy. Order through control. The Syndicate believes chaos is humanity's default state. Stability, in their view, does not emerge naturally, does not deserve trust. It must be enforced, measured, and defended through power. To them, the world functions only where someone strong enough decides that it will. Regions. Their strongest regional presence lies in the Shattered Core, where dense urban ruins, active movement corridors, trade routes, and population pressure creates the perfect environment for contract power. They operate in and around most active urban zones and trade arteries and route control and semi-livable districts, and the other groups depend on. Like every other faction, they do not truly base themselves inside Soulless Prime itself. The megacity remains too unstable and strategically dangerous to fully occupy. Instead, the Syndicate thrives in surrounding urban landscape, the parts of the core where control can still be exercised and sold. The structure, the hierarchy of the syndicate is organized like hybrid between a military force, and a political commercial machine. Uh, it goes like this: executives guide major regional strategies and contract control. Commanders manage operations and assess and territorial enforcement. Operatives carry out field assessments, enforce protection, and tactical response. Specialized cells operations in more secretive capabilities, including known divisions, Hound, Spire, and Void. Their systems reward effortness effectiveness over purity. Loyalty matters, but performance matters more. Assets. The Syndicate is known for practical militarized technology adapted to a fractured world. Advanced armor systems, a EMP munitions, recon and surveillance drones, tactical exosuits, hardened route control infrastructure. They are less interested in understanding the deeper logic of old systems than in making recovered technology useful in this present. Um, we already gone through the timeline, so we're just gonna skip that part. Relationship to myth. The Syndicate does not put much faith in myths, but it understands their usefulness. To them, the fall of Echelon Point is not scared history. It is a lesson that even the strongest stronghold can fail if power is not controlled properly. The last pact is, in their view, either a lie or proof that idealistic unity is inherently weak. The Nameless One is useful not because he is real, but because people like simple blame. The Syndicate understands that people are easier to manage when they believe collapse can be explained by a single figure instead of systemic instability. They do not need myths to be true, they only need people to respond to them. Internal intentions. The Syndicate is more stable than many factions but far from united. Executives compete, commanders cultivate influence, specialized cells gather secrets. Their structure functions because ambition is channeled, not because it is absent. The greatest risk to Echelon is not invasion from the outside, but fragmentation from within. The Echelon Syndicate represents the logic of survival turned into governance. They are not dreamers, not preservers. They are the faction that understands the value of systems only insofar as systems can be controlled. So yeah, that's the Echelon Syndicate or whatever the fuck their name is. Let me see. There's some stuff that was left out again, but I feel like I just gotta go back and fix it. But it's fine. But yeah, that's the Syndicate, the Echelon Syndicate. Okay. Yeah, that's that's them. If you guys want to join them, let me know. Let me know. Okay, so then we got New Dawn as refusal. New Dawn began as refusal. In the generations after the Great War, as other survivors gathered around ruined systems and dead infrastructure, some communities close chose another path. They restored land rather than machine grids. They cultivated food rather than salvaged power. They treated survival as something that could be built through balance rather than domination. These communities did not begin as one movement. They were scattered, local, adapted, but over time they recognized themselves in one another. Groups trying to avoid rebuilding the very mindset that had destroyed the world. That shared philosophy became New Dawn. Uh, Philosophy: live with the world, not over it. New Dawn believes the old world fell because it pursued excess without balance. In their view, technology is not evil, but it becomes dangerous when it is allowed to dominate ecological reality, humanity, humility, human humility, and the limits of consequences. They do not reject knowledge outright, they reject systems that forgot they are part of a living world. Their strongest presence lies in Verdant Reach, where biological abundance, ecological resilience, and living systems make their philosophy workable. In practice, it is one of the few regions where a function can sustain long-term communities, not by forcing the environment to yield, but by learning how to live within its rhythm. Even there, they do not fully control the land. Verdant Reach remains stronger than any one faction. New Dawn survives not because it dominates the region, but because it understands it better than most. Their structure, you know, uh, their hierarchy. New Dawn rejects strict centralized rule. Its authority is disturbed through communal and functional roles. Voice circles act as leader bodies, deliberating through consciousness. Caretakers preserve balance between settlements and environments. Growers maintain food systems and ecological cultivation and living infrastructure. Wardens defend communities and guide movement through danger zones. This decentralized structure makes them resilient in some ways and vulnerable in others. Though often perceived as anti-technology by their rivals, New Dawn is highly sophisticated in its own domain. The technology tends to be biological, sustainable, or low impact. Gene-tuned crops, biodomes, living architectural systems. I still said it wrong. Neural vine memory archives, environmentally integrated systems. Their strength lies in making systems that do not feel like systems. Uh, we already gone through the history, so through the timeline. I mean, relationship to myth. New Dawn treats myth as lessons, not just stories. They are the faction most inclined to see the Last Pact as either a real attempt at unity or at minimum a valuable vision that humanity abandoned too soon. They regard the architects with both admiration and caution, prove that intelligent intellect intelli- Intelligence without restraint produces collapse. Even their view on the clans is shaped by mythic thinking, not as monsters in abstract, but as evidence of what happens when humanity forces transformation instead of allowing growth. To New Dawn, myths are warnings, and the world keeps trying to hear. The world keeps trying to hear. The greatest internal divide is between those who want to protect what they have built quietly and those who believe New Dawn must expand more actively if its philosophy is ever to matter on a global scale. Too much expansion risks becoming the very kind of overreach they condemn. Too little may leave the world to factions they distrust. Narrative function. The New Dawn represents the possibility that the future could be different from the past, and the uncertainty of whether the world will allow such a future to survive. And then we have the cleansed. So yeah, that's before we move on, that's Verdant. That's New Dawn. If you guys are more of the preserve life, preserve plants type of people, this is your go-to would be your go-to faction. A lot of I guess you would say more noble type of beliefs. I guess you could say they're definitely one of my favorite. They're not my favorite faction, but they're definitely a nice one. I like them. But yeah, then we got New Dawn. The New Dawn began as a refusal. In the generations after the Great War, as other survivors gathered around ruins and systems and dead infrastructure, some communities chose another path. They restored land rather than machine grids. They cultivated food rather than salvaged power. They treated survival as something that could be built through balance rather than domination. These communities did not begin as one movement. They were scattered, local, adaptive, but over time they recovered themselves in one another groups, trying to avoid rebuilding the very mindset that had destroyed the world. That shared philosophy became New Dawn. What the fuck is going on? Uh, I think I fucked up. I think I fucked up, chat. I think I fucked up, chat. Give me a second. I'm gonna need to fix this. I'm gonna need to fix this real quick. What the fuck, gang? Gang, what the fuck just happened? Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to figure some shit out. Wait, why is it so weird? What the fuck happened? I mean, I have all the stuff. That's weird. Give me a second, guys. It's still loading. I don't know what the fuck happened here. How did it change? Like, what the hell? Oh, god damn it. We were on a roll too. But yeah, guys, how's you guys' night so far? Mine's pretty good. Should probably go to sleep soon. Probably gonna finish this up and then I'm gonna end stream and then I'm gonna probably go to bed. But yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm loving like the work, the world, the way it's shaping up. I'm just I'm falling in love with my world all over again. Like before I was like already like really into it. I think now I'm overly into it now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just amazing the way that my world has become. It makes me happy, honestly, to see it become what it is. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to fix this part right here because I don't know what the fuck happened. I swear I literally, actually had it written down. I don't know why the fuck it's the New Dawn stuff. But let me fix that for you guys real quick. Let me fix that real quick. It just takes a minute because I need to find it. I just have docs on docs and docs and like all this shit just everywhere. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? I just realized I didn't share the stream to Twitter. I didn't share the stream, bro. What the flip? How do I share it though? Chat, how do I share? I think I got it. Let me check. I don't think that worked. Hold on, let me get to what I was trying to do, bro. Oh, I think this nope. Yeah, I think I went too high up. Yeah, I don't know how the fuck this like I don't know how the hell it changed. What the hell? Yeah, that's so fucking weird. Okay guys, I got it somewhat fixed. I hope. Um Before I do that, I need to go do something real quick because before I forget, so I'll be back here in like a minute. I'll be back. Okay guys, I'm back and I've updated this thing. So it's accurate. Okay. We were here, people. We finished the New Dawn, and now we're at the actual clans, not the New Dawn again. Okay. The clans are not factions in the same way others are. They are not founded, though, through organization, doctrine, or conscious decision. They emerged. They are mutated humans shaped by exposure to unstable remnants of the old world systems, especially in Ashen Shores, where contamination failed military technologies, where contamination, where contamination failed military technologies, radiological residue, and broken biological systems converged over generations. Their existence is not an invasion from outside history. They are one of history's consequences, identity. The cleanse are best understood as a spectrum rather than a unified body. Some are barely more than instinct and aggression, others remain sentient, organized, and capable of communication, adaptation, and group coordination. What unites them is not ideology in a traditional sense, but transformation. Amongst sapient groups, mutation is not always viewed as damage, it is often understood as change, harsh, irreversible, defining. The cleanser primary anchored to Ashen Shores, the contamination ruined system, altered survivor population, and unstable environments. Conditions of that region are what made them possible and what continues to sustain them. They are rarely encountered outside Ashen Shores. This rarity matters. Most people in the wider world know of them through rumors, fragmented reports, or cautionary tales rather than direct contact. The clans do not pose a stable singular hierarchy. Instead, they exist through feral clusters, sapient clans, temporary coordination, regional contained group behavior. Some reports suggest increasing coordination among sapient groups, but this has not yet solidified into anything like conventional factions command structure. Uh, their coordination is believed to have emerged through compound exposure to radiological contamination, weapon residue, biological experimentation remnants, uh, environmental adaptation systems gone unstable. No one fully understands the exact process, and because the fall of Echelon Point itself remains mythically unresolved, the cleanse exists in a space between observed consequences and unprovable origin. We've gone through their history a well, so we're gonna just skip over this part. Relationship to myth. The cleanse reinterpret myths rather than preserve them. Among sapient groups, the Sunbreakers may be understood not as a story of destruction but of transformation. The nameless one may be seen less as one who ended the world than the one who intended change. The hidden north seems to provoke rare curiosity, perhaps because certain cleansed perception perceive perspectives are drawn to unfinished systems and incomplete transformation. Their mythic worldview is not about nostalgia; it's about becoming. In-world interpretation. Because the clans are rare outside Ashen Shores, most factions do not understand them clearly. New Dawn tends to view them as imbalance made manifest. The Techno Collective treats them as an unknown, dangerous biological anomaly. The Echelon Syndicate classifies them as a localized hazard to contain or avoid. Internal tensions, their instability is their defining contention. No one knows whether the clans are becoming more organized, more adapted, or simply more efficient at surviving in conditions that shape them. The cleanse represent for transformation that never resolved. They are not simply monsters, victims, or enemies. They are what happens when the world changes. Human beings faster than human identity can survive the process. That's that's the cleanse, guys. Honestly, this is probably my second favorite ooh, faction because just like all the lore and like mystery to them. Also because I think they're kind of cool. Besides the fact that they're mutated. The way they think, the way they operate is like interesting to me, even though I'm the one that literally wrote it. But yeah, cool, cool, cool. And then the next faction, this one has its own page because it's technically the main faction in the game slash book, so it has its own like thing, but it's still a faction. Just you'll find out. I'll read. Founded year 850 RE, reclaimed era. True agenda unknown to the world, internally evolving towards balance through selective elimination. The Grim Reapers were born in silence, orphans exiled, and those discarded by fractured worlds founded each other not through purpose but through survival. In the aftermath of still recovering world, these factions had begun to rise, but stability had not yet taken hold. They existed in gaps between systems, unseen, unclaimed, and unnecessary to anyone but themselves. At first, they were nothing more than a collection of survivors, but survival alone was not suitable, so they became something else. They became mercenaries. By year 850, they had taken form not as public faction but as a hidden network. Their operations were small, precise, and entirely deniable. They trained in isolation, combining disciplined combat with fragments of old world technology, energy blades, pulse-based weaponry, stripped down the drones, and tools they understood only as far as they needed to. They took contracts no one spoke about, not because they were rare, but because acknowledging meant acknowledging them meant admitting the world still had problems no faction could openly solve. For roughly the next 150 years, 850 to 1000 RE, their purpose remained unchanged: survive, stay hidden, get paid. They did not expand openly, they did not claim territory, they did not compete with other factions. They endured. Then, sometime after the year 1000, something shifted. It was not announced, it was not recorded, it was not fully understood by all within the organization, but it was real. Their contracts became selective. Targets were no longer just high paying or high risk, they were specific. Corrupt leadership figures, destabilizing power structures, dangerous technological operations, individuals whose removal caused notable stabilization. At first, it could be dismissed as coincidence. Over time, it became a pattern, one that suggests intent. And yet, nothing about them changed. On the surface, they still accepted contracts, they still operated in secrecy, they still answered to no one outside their own structure, which made the truth harder to see. They were no longer just surviving the system, they were quietly shaping it. The Reaper ranking structure, not formally enforced but culturally understood. Boss, entry level operatives, CEO, advanced level field agents, ruler, regional team leads, king, strategic coordinators, emperors, inner leadership circles, and then Grim Reaper. Singular title exists outside traditional hierarchy, and then the Overseer, supreme authority, currently the Harbinger. That's their leader name. So yeah, name of rank. The hierarchy exists but is not rigid. Nature of rank. Rank reflects proven loyalty, consistent success, precise discipline, but it does not guarantee authority. Some are followed because of rank, others are followed because they should be. The anomaly. Grim Reaper. The title Grim Reaper is not part of the system. It does not follow progression. It cannot be requested. It is not formally assigned. It is recognized. Only one exists at a time, and even within the organizations, its presence is uncertain. In current era, that title is associated with the name spoken rarely, Nightmare, a figure whose existence is known only to the highest levels, and even then not fully understood. Missions attributed to him are often completed without confirmation, without witnesses, and without failure. He did not rise through ranks, he appeared beyond them. Leadership. At the top stands the Harbinger, Overseer, rose to leadership at age 30, commands absolute loyalty within inner circles, maintains control without public presence, rarely seen even by high ranking members. The Harbinger does not rule through visibility, He rules through certainty. Every action taken by the Grim Reapers ultimately traces back to his authority, whether directly or through layers of command. It is also known among very few that he has taken a direct interest in Nightmare, not as a weapon but as something more. The recruitment. The Grim Reapers do not recruit publicly. They gather those the world has already discarded, orphans, children of existing members, exiles, and outcasts. All are raised within the organization as family, regardless of origin. However, those from other factions are monitored closely. Loyalty must be proven repeatedly. Trust is never immediately. Belonging is given. Trust is earned. Um, Secrecy. The Grim Reapers are not defined by what they do, but by what no one knows. Their training is never documented, their operations are never fully understood, their full structure is unknown, even internally. Even members only see fragments, no one sees the whole. Presence in the world. They have no capital, no territory, no official alliance, and yet they are present across every region, not as a force, but as an absence. A convoy disappears on a secret route, a syndicate official is found dead inside a locked structure. A collective site goes dark without system failure. No claims are made, no signatures are left, no proof exists, and so the world does what it always does, and with things it cannot confirm, it turns them into a rumor. They are not factions you fight; they are possibilities you fear. Quiet timeline, embedded reality. 850 RE formation from scattered survivals, 850 to 100 1000 RE, mercenary survival phase, 1000 plus RE, gradual shift towards selective training, targeting, emergence of anomalies within operators, Operation Bleeding Veil, internal turning point, still unknown, still unseen, still growing. The world does not know them, and that's why they remain dangerous. And that's my faction, the Grim Reapers. This is the Grim Reapers, guys. If you guys want to be part of it, let me know down in the comments, and I'll think about it. I'm just kidding. But yeah, this is gonna be one of the one of the key factions in the story, I guess, um, because of its role in the world. Um, Obviously, I want to implement this too in one of the factions you can join or be a part of, because obviously it's still a faction. But I guess maybe this one, I guess you could say, is the hard route, because I'm kind of thinking of making the world be in the same year as the actual story takes place. So Jay will be around, and like, but you can make your own character, join certain factions, or join the Grim Reapers and try to get yourself to the rank of Grim Reaper, right? Be the ultimate weapon of the group. But I don't know. I like that idea, so I might have to like lock it in a little bit. But let's move on to my boy, my boy Jay. Jay, codename Nightmare. I want to work on that, but I low key fuck with it. Jay is not widely known. He is not publicly recognized, not documented, not acknowledged outside of a select few within his organization. Even within Grim Reapers, most do not even know if he truly exists. He is a name spoken carefully, if at all. Core identity: name Jay, codename Nightmare. Born year 1181. Age year 1200. 19 at the moment. Affiliation: Grim Reapers. Rank: Grim Reaper. Non-standard mythic designation. Known by the Harbinger and the highest ranking members only. Jace does not exist within the normal structure of the organization. He operates outside of it. Personality: Jay is defined by control. He is cold, focused, precise. Traits shaped through years of conditioning within the Grim Reapers. He does not act impulsively, nor does he allow emotions to interfere with execution. His worldview is structured and simple. Orders are followed, missions are completed, doubt has no function. He is loyal to a fault, partially to the Harbinger, whose authority he does not question. Despite this, Jay is not emotionless. He maintains a quiet sense of firmness, treating fellow Reapers as family rather than expendable assets. He recognizes others, observes them, and operates with a level of internal consistency that separates him from purely mechanical behavior. He still sees himself as human. The old world holds no mysticism for him. Its technology are not sacred or feared. They are tools, nothing more. Upbringing. Jay was raised in a hidden orphanage operated by the Grim Reapers. The orphanage functioned as both a home, a controlled training environment. Children raised within it were trained from early childhood, conditioned for loyalty, taught combat, discipline, operational thinking, raised as part of a unified family structure. There was no separation between upbringing and training. Jay did not enter this life; he was born into it. Ranking status. Jay did not rise through the traditional ranking system of the Grim Reapers. His progression did not follow the boss, CEO, ruler, king, emperor. Instead, his ability rendered standard progression unnecessary. He was granted the title Grim Reaper. The title is not part of the normal hierarchy, rarely assigned, symbolic of operational capabilities rather than authority. He is not the highest ranking member. He is the most effective operative. Operation Bleeding Veil. In the year 1190, young Jay, age 9, a Grim Reaper handler known as Asheville defected, taking with him crucial data, operational records, AI decoding methods, active mission information. A six-man unit was deployed to retrieve or eliminate the target. They did not return. The area showed signs of signal interference, system disturbance, failed surveillance. As a final measure, the Harbinger authorized a solo deployment. Jay was selected. Why? We don't know. Outcome: Asheville was eliminated. Stolen data was manually destroyed. Jay returned without providing a full account. No detailed records of the mission exist. Crazy. Result following the operation. Jay was assigned the code name Nightmare. His existence was restricted to upper leadership. His role became classified within organization. From this point forward, he operated in near total secrecy. Internal myths. Within the Grim Reapers, Jay is not widely known. Lower ranks are unaware of him. Some believe he is a fabrication, others consider him a test or warning. Only high ranking members know he is real. This maintains his function as both an operative and an internal myth. Relationship with the Harbinger. Jay witnessed the rise of the Harbinger to leadership. The Harbinger became overseer at a young age, establishing control over the organization. During a crucial period, the relationship is defined by absolute trust from Jay, calculated interest from the Harbinger. Jay does not question him. The Harbinger, in turn, does not view Jay as expendable. He recognizes in Jay something rare: control, potential, and the capacity for future leadership. Jay is not simply used, he is being watched. Combat mastery. Jay has been trained extensively in all forms of combat from early childhood. He demonstrates high proficiency in hand to hand combat, effective use of all major weapon types, advanced situational adaptability. He does not rely on single fighting styles. Instead, he adapts to each situation with precision and efficiency. Combat to Jay is not expression, it is resolution. Combat philosophy. Jay does not fight to dominate, he fights to end. No wasted movements, no unnecessary engagement, no emotional escalation. Every action serves a purpose, every motion leads forward towards leads towards completion. His loadout. I made this. This is kind of just fun. This is how I see him, right? Jay carries a versatile mission adaptive loadout designed for full combat converge. His equipment is selected based on efficiency and operational needs rather than preference. Primary equipment standard carry. This is what he usually carries on like a day-to-day basis and like normal missions, I guess. Dual katanas, back mounted. Dual semi-futuristic revolvers because we're in a semi-futuristic world. Holster shoulders, reliable high-impact weapons for mid-range combat. I forgot to say that for the dual katanas, used for close-range engagement and rapid controlled eliminations. Rapier hip. I fucking love the rapier. They're so cool. Precision weapon for controlled, deliberate engagements, so like one-on-one type of field. And then he has a concealed front carry suppressed pistol used for silent elimination. Suppressors is modular and attached only when needed. So yeah, he can detach the suppressor. It's very compact. Like his design is very compact. Anyways, secondary equipment mission based. Jay does not rely solely on fixed loadout. on a fixed loadout. Depending on the mission, he will bring additional or alternate weapons suited to the environment, target, and objective. So this, you know, ties back to his proficiency in combat and all that stuff. Depending on the mission, he will bring. This may include compact suppressed rifle sling carried, used when range or tactical positioning is required. I wanted to add this to the kit, but the fact that he's more of a nimble type of fighter and he's like likes to get things done quick, I didn't really want the gun to be in the way, because it'd just be swinging everywhere. So, anyways, it's a secondary target, even though I fucking love that gun. Long range rifles, specialized missions only, deployed for extended range operations, close quarters, and then he has close quarter tools or compact blades, throwable weapons or utility gear, specialized equipment based on mission parameters. Parameters. Anyways, our operational adaptability. Jay's effectiveness is not defined by a single set of weapons, but by his ability to adapt his loadout to the mission at hand. His selective equipment based on environmental target profiles, engagement distance, required levels of stealth. This allows him to operate across a wide range of scenarios without being limited by a fixed approach. Combat identity. Jay operates at a complete system. He does not depend on a single weapon, a fixed style, or a specific approach. He selects the most effective method of available and executes it without hesitation. To those few aware of him, he is not described as an overwhelming or chaotic. He is described as inevitable. Current state year 1200. At 19, Jay remains fully loyal to the Grim Reapers. He does not question the organizations, the Harbinger, or his role. However, subtle changes have begun. He observes more than required. He notices patterns. He recognizes inconsistencies, though he does not yet act on them. This is not doubt. This is the beginning of awareness. Jay represents control without conflict, loyalty without question, precision without hesitation. He is the embodiment of the Grim Reapers, create at their most refined. Jay is not searching for meaning. He is fulfilling a purpose he has never questioned, but as the world begins to reveal more of what it once was, that may change. And that's literally it, people. Can I delete this page? There you go. That's it, people. That's literally the end of this world. That's the end of what this so far. Like that's literally all I've been working on. Well, most of it. That's what it's come to, you know. Honestly, I'm so happy the way my character turned out, the way my main faction turned out, the way my other factions, like my other factions are still fucking cool as hell. The timeline, the myths, the continents, the world itself, like everything about it is perfect, dude. Obviously, there's some refinement that I still gotta do, but it's mainly on my fault because I'm retarded. But yeah, man, that's fucking amazing. I fucking love the way the world's turning out. Um, Now the hard part is implementing implementing it into the actual game. Oh my god, bro. It's gonna be hell. But yeah, probably gotta change a lot of this or just delete a lot of it since I have it saved on a separate doc, so I don't really need to hear anymore. But yeah, man, like holy, that was a lot of reading. Too much reading if you ask me, you know. But yeah, man, that's so cool. Honestly, that's so cool. Um, Honestly, here's another. I think this is another. Um, I had my cousin. He like draws and shit. Hold up, guys. Give me a second. Anyways, yeah, so I have like a lot of the core, like not the core, like the the look of my boy. Uh, because I have had him get like I said, originally he's my original character, right? But I can't draw for jack shit, and my cousin can. So I was like, you know what? I hit him up. I was like, Loki, draw me my character. It'd be kind of cool, you know. And he did. He's cool like that. Um, what I was pretty much what I've been doing is just like I decided to so I started as that, making the character, and then I don't know where it just kind of spiraled to me. It kind of just spiraled to me. Literally working on the world itself, and then obviously we're at here now. But I'm about to pull up some pictures of how my character looks. I just need to get them on my computer first, so you guys gotta give me a minute here. But yeah, I'm so happy. Like, dude, I actually have it to a point where like I'm genuinely happy with everything that I have, and like everything that I've worked on so far. Like, dude, like the weapons and everything. Like, the my brain sees it, dude. My brain sees it. So yeah, I mean, like, fuck, looks amazing, dude. And don't clown my boy. Don't clown him, bro. He looks tough. Don't clown him, cause he's gonna like fuck you up or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so don't talk shit. You know. I add it. Sorry guys, this is taking a minute. Um, I guess we could watch some YouTube. Unless my YouTube's a little weird, guys. Don't just ignore it. Just a lot of manhwas and shit. Japanese chill rap and lo-fi hip hop. What the fuck? Pokemon fatigue. What the fuck? Let's look at I didn't know you could do this. Let's watch this, guys. Fuck you, ads! Oh my god. Alright, never mind, guys. You're gonna have to wait. I think I sent it. almost show you guys. Just need to make sure you can't see important stuff. The fuck is it? I'm about to tweak out. Where the fuck is it? Okay, so that one. Delete. Delete. Not that one. Okay. Um. All right. I got it. 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 All right, chat. All right, chat. Time to show you. All right, time to show you guys. Ready? All right. We're just gonna do this. So this was literally the first iteration that he showed me, like some of the designs that he was thinking of doing. And honestly, now looking at them now, I fuck with all of them. They're all fucking amazing, right? But like this was like kind of the process, the stage he was in when he first showed me the images, and then we moved to this one. He gave me these, and I fucking love this one. It was like, because I want him to have some tattoos and shit. Um, but yeah, I fuck with this one too. I kind of fuck with all these actually. Maybe like a mixture of this with this, like get rid of like this sleeve thing and have the exposedness, or even this. But yeah, like all these are amazing. So this is the one that I kind of wanted. Well, I settled for this one pretty much. So yeah. So this is him working on the pants and stuff, working on the actual fit, refining it, making it more refined and stuff. Um, a little bit more. This is with the cape. I fuck with this, bro. I don't know why I took that off. But yeah, these are the ones these are like this design. I fuck with this one. Why did I choose this one? I'm retarded. Anyways, so then I obviously picked this one. Regret now that I'm thinking about it, but yeah, that, and then this is like kind of the colorway, and then I said like some hints of like, you know, all this like the purple because I fucking love like darker purple. That's like one of my favorite colors. So yeah, this is like where it's at currently. I don't know if he has worked on it or not because I haven't talked to him in a minute, but yeah, that's literally like the progress, guys. Oh my god, like that's the lore. That's everything that I have down right now. What the fuck was here? I don't know. But yeah, that's literally it, dude. I don't know. It's crazy. Um, how can I change my game on here? Edit. Oh, there you go. Edit your stream. Yo, is this low key place like schedule one? Low key. Little bit. Little bit for a little bit. Drug dealer schedule 1. What the fuck? Is that it? I'm gonna update it. Alright, well, that's it for YouTube. I'm just gonna play a little bit, stream a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna hop off. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed my lore explanation and the drawing showing and stuff like that. I hope you guys enjoyed all of that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what faction you guys join. What regions you guys would love to see come to fruition. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Let me know on the comments. And yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely day, evening, night, whatever time of day it is for you whenever you watch this video. But yeah, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace.